multi-cloud. I've been working with cloud for quite a number of years. I worked on the vCloud Architecture Toolkit, did a lot of work even before that in developing cloud solutions at service providers before I actually worked at VMware many years ago. And what I wanted to do is talk about some of the concepts on what this is about. What does this mean when we talk about hybrid multi-cloud? Why would you want to consider doing this? These are questions that I see a lot of service providers get asked questions on, and in many cases they'll focus on one type of cloud and not realizing that many customers are looking at other solutions and how they might integrate and take advantage of costing models and particular features. My background is I've been working with VMware for about 12 years. I moved over to EMC's Office of the CTO for the last 3 years, and I more recently joined VirtuStream and working in their Office of the CTO and focused specifically on hybrid multi-cloud and some of our next-gen cloud architectures. So when we look at hybrid multi-cloud, I wanted to cover a couple of definitions initially. One, what is cloud? Basically, this is a way of taking what you need to have running and have the resources available in a location that could be on-premises, but in many cases is off-premises. When we look at cloud service providers, these are individuals or individual groups that may be working together with other providers to provide a solution for storing those cloud workloads. These are both traditional workloads and cloud native workloads. I think there's a differentiation that people call out on that, but I think it's important to understand that not every traditional workload will be moved into a cloud native workload immediately. There may be different reasons for that. It could be because of the legacy development team and having to go through the process of converting it. There may be other reasons for that as well, but you'll find that there are a number of applications that are out there that still have a good fit that will not change, especially if they're legacy applications that were developed in-house at a particular company. They may not be ready to move to cloud native at this point. And from the hybrid cloud standpoint, we look at on-premises and off-premises. I think one of the key things that we want to look at as we go forward in the industry in developing cloud is how do we actually make that more effective so enterprise workloads, both mission critical and the ones that may not be mission critical, can actually live on-prem or off-prem and support your business needs. So now when we look at a hybrid multi-cloud, one of the things that we've done at VirtuStream is looking at building what we're doing on top of VMware's Cloud Foundation with the addition of the vRealize suite because of vRealize automation and orchestration. There is the capability in the vRealize automation area for plugins, and we've actually created some technology that allows us to bridge between the on-prem and the off-prem in a hybrid cloud, so you can still have your same standard virtualization environment that you have on premises, and then connect in with either VirtuStream or other cloud providers if they provide this type of a hybrid solution as far as the technology goes. So why is hybrid multi-cloud important? Well, one is flexibility. You may have different capabilities or different features that are needed for your environment. Different vendors may provide that as well. So this gives you some of the opportunities to take advantage of that. So you might have a mix of Hyper-V, VirtuStream, VMware, Microsoft. That is a possibility. Right now, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done for a true bridge, for a true multi-cloud. But there are many vendors, ourselves included, that are working on a way to actually support that, even if it is a way to bridge between different clouds from different vendors. So think of co-opetition, a coin that was invented quite a few years ago, of how we might actually use that. And I think this is important. More of the cloud providers do need to work together in looking at supporting both the mission critical and the non-mission critical clouds. Financial is another aspect. Every year or every set of time, period, there will be renegotiations of contracts with cloud providers. How can you use multi-cloud? Well, one of the ways is having the ability not just to have different features and to support your environment, but give you the ability to look at costing models that fit those types of workloads. Not everything needs mission critical infrastructure. Some things can use other types of infrastructure, but it's important to understand there is going to be a cost difference when you start getting to those types of workloads that require, for example, 5 nines of availability in a cloud. How many providers do that? There's very few. I know we do it. I don't know of other providers that are doing currently, but it's something that you should think about. What is that availability requirement? What are the performance requirements? What are the security requirements? And that leads into this tiered level of service and performance and cost. Find the best fit for all three of these based on the cloud provider and the workloads that you're actually creating. And the last area is thinking about specialized service offerings. These are ones that are aligned typically to verticals or types of specific regulatory compliance. We look at government cloud, healthcare cloud, and developer cloud as three of the big ones that we've been working with customers on, but we also see other vendors that are doing the same thing. How do we address supporting those where there are very strong regulatory compliance guidelines? So choice is the final key thing that I would leave with that one particular slide. Now, how do we design and use a hybrid multi-cloud? So I'm calling out, since this is only a short session, and we'll probably do an extended session later on with the vBrownBag series, I wanted to call out some of the key things that we feel are important from our work with customers. Requirements, security, number one in pretty much every single case. Multi-tenancy, how do you deal with that? Can you truly have, with some of the compliance, multiple tenants on the same hardware infrastructure and the same virtual infrastructure? In many cases, that's okay, but there are sometimes auditing groups that will require physical separation as well, and that's something to consider. When we look at interoperability, how do we have your workload be able to move between these different cloud providers? What is the way that you do that? Traditionally, it's been using some of the technologies that VMware has provided and other companies have provided to create a compatible format like OVF. There's manageability and recoverability are also key requirements. And then the last one that I would call out here is that availability aspect of 5 nines for mission critical. That's something that we think is very important. We're working on obviously trying to see, can we push it beyond that? There's a cost aspect of that, but one of the things that we're trying to do with our infrastructure is take advantage of Dell Technologies suite of software and hardware, but also our own customized software and particular partners that we're working with to cover specific areas where they have the domain expertise. Constraints. Well, for a constraint, we're going to look at both an on-premises and an off-premises solution with two or more vendors or cloud types of technologies. One of the key things here that's going to be driving this is how do we support a bridge between these different cloud environments. And the last area I'll call out is assumptions. So we make an assumption that if you are going to use a hybrid multi-cloud, that there is some form of cloud interoperability so that you can migrate workloads, you can actually have some basic functionality to support those workloads. But the workload mobility aspect, I give an example here of something that is coming out. This is considered more of a futures talk, but it's a short-term futures talk. I will be covering a little bit more about one of the technologies that we've created called the VirtualStream Enterprise Cloud Connector. There are other technologies in a similar space to this, but this is our particular technology that we've chosen. What I wanted to show here is on the environment of creating an on-prem and off-prem. On the lower area, I'm showing the on-prem with the VMware technologies. And on the upper area, I'm showing the off-premises, showing several different vendor types of cloud solutions. So there's VirtualStream, I've got Vodafone, who happens to be one of our partners. There may be other providers as well in that particular space. The other thing to realize is on premises, you may have Cloud Foundation or a subset of that. Everyone, I think, has vSphere running. You may be looking at adding on vSAN or NSX. We're not making a specific requirement that you have to have all of these other than the vSphere environment and the vRealize automation technology to allow us to bridge between those two areas. This is one of the key things. One of the essentials for the multi-cloud is ensuring that you have the ability to move the workloads back and forth and still meet your compliance guidelines and still have an ability to audit how those migrations are happening. So let's talk a little bit about the Enterprise Cloud Connector. So this is something that is based on the VMware vRealize set of technologies. Once again, I said the vRealize automation suite because of the plugin. And one of the things that we look at is how can you do a deployment to our cloud? So one of the tools that we have is that Enterprise Cloud Connector, which will allow you to take a brand new workload or an existing workload and have it placed and running in the VirtualStream environment. And part of this, and this is a question that comes up all the time, is, well, what tool do I have to use to manage either the inventory, to see what's in there, to manage the power cycling, the configuration changes? And I'm going to talk about that, but the key thing is we want to make sure that an individual has the ability to do management with their traditional tools as well as the newer tools. One of the next steps that I wanted to call out is on looking at your business needs and how you, what are the things that will drive the solution that you take or the set of cloud providers that you might work with. There's technology, there's governance, there's budget, there's staffing. We also want to look at what are your mission critical applications. Not everything that people say are not mission critical really. There may be a misunderstanding sometimes based on the business unit. If you are an architect or you're an application or analyst type of person, you're going to want to look at what are the qualifications for that, and they may be the security or the performance or the availability aspects. So what I would like to do is encourage after this session, because these are short sessions, if you want to do a little deeper dive, I can give you a little more detail on the the virtualization enterprise cloud connector. We will have some demonstrations at the booth afterwards. There are two other complimentary sessions. One is later on today, and that's building a cloud of systems of record here at this particular location on the VMTN stage. The other one will be tomorrow, and it's Virtual Stream and VMware Enable Hybrid Cloud, Hybrid Multi-Cloud. And that's where I'll go into the specific details of how this enterprise cloud connector works. So I encourage you to come by for that. So with that, I'll end the session. For those of you who are here and have filled out some of those